the way you feel about that time? Seeing it, you know, with your friends again and laughing, because they are the funniest commentaries on any DVD. Yeah.
I look at the when we do the DVDs and I'm absolutely speechless. Like, what was I doing? I mean, really. Oh my god. It is slightly depressing. It is slightly.
I think my decision to give up acting was wise.
Oh, but is it fun though? Does
oh yeah, no, we have a great time. Absolutely.
We do a lot of. What were you wearing? What have you done with your hair?
Who nailed that rat to your head? Visitation. You mentioned visitation. Have you seen my hair doing that? What the hell was John Nathan Turner? This was the producer. What was he thinking of? You know, gay guys are supposed to have taste. Just my luck to get the only one without any taste at all, who decided that he was going to style me, you know.
You didn't get it as bad as Colin Baker. Things could have been a lot worse.
Things could have been a lot worse. Sylvester's outfit. Oh. Bonnie Langford's. What was that thing that we saw the other day? I would have just, at that point, I would have gone, no. Yeah, exactly. What about your intergalactic McDonald's waitress?
Oh, yeah. Peter didn't like that at all. I walked on to set the first day and said, my God, she just looks like a waitress from McDonald's. I'll have a Big Mac and a fries, please. He didn't like that. Didn't stay around very long, that costume. It kind of came and went very quickly.
Did you have the opportunity to say no?
No.
Don't be like that, audience. Come on. Bit of class.
Did you? I did.
I did towards the end, in a funny sort of way, because I just, you know, I sort of managed to get out, you know, and go costume shopping with the costume department, rather than have John decide that he knew how to design a costume when he patently didn't.
Because it's such a difference from Doctor Who now, where I think basically. There didn't seem to be much duty of care over the actors back then.
Especially
given how young you...
That was a good way. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's actually a really
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Duty of care.
Duty of care. Yeah.
Because everyone now is asked their opinions. Would you want to wear this? Do you not want to?
Yeah.
Do you think your character is being well served in this script? You guys just seem to have been chucked in the deep end.
Absolutely.
Wow, it sounds
and
like
nobody gave up.
Yeah.
You know, they really didn't.
But did it just feel like that was how television was then?
No.
Or did you think, something's terribly wrong here?
Yeah. I'm not being funny, but I would complain, and I did complain.
Were your complaints listened to?
No.
That must
It
have
made no
been
difference. But, I mean, it was very difficult because, in fact, you know, it was over-controlling, and it didn't allow you to develop, you know, and bring what you had to bring to things to the extent that you would have liked.
It's kind of indicative of the whole attitude towards the assistant.
Oh.
And a whole, if you think of it, I mean, the costume, the way that was kind of given to you, and that was what happened, was the way in which we didn't get character development as well. It was kind of indicative of how the assistant was seen.
Yeah.
As an extra
Absolutely.
add-on. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was, because I know Joe Ahern fairly well, who directed and wrote some of the first series of the New Lot.
Yeah.
And I was corresponding with him, and I you know, emailing, and I said, look, you know, I just think Russell T is genius, and you know, can I send him an email? Do you think that would be too cheesy? And he said, no, he'd love it, you know. And so I did. I sent him an email.
I bet he did love it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And we were emailing backwards and forwards, you know. And then I ran into him one day in Soho, and yeah, that was really great. He and Phil, the producer, and you know, I was sort of saying to him that, to me, to watch what they'd done with Rose and with Billie Piper's character was just so fantastic, because she wasn't dumped in the TARDIS and then just used as an adjunct. How she felt about going into space and the things that were happening to her mattered. And and so therefore, when you're watching an action adventure, if you care about about the characters, and the more you care about the characters, the more the action means something.
Yeah. I was talking to Gareth Roberts, who's one of the new series writers who's here this weekend, about Nyssa and Tegan. And he was saying that on the show now, characters like the ones you two played, certainly the way they were envisaged originally, the story arc of those characters would have been an entire season of New Doctor Who.
Yeah.
There's so much there, actually.
There was so much there, and they never went there.
Yeah. You've got a space princess whose planet has been destroyed and her father killed. You've got an air hostess whose auntie has been killed. Both killed by the same person.
Yeah.
They've been made to share a room.
Yeah.
There's stories there.
Some of them you couldn't put on telly at 7 o'clock.
And yet we were just like, okay, she's dead, get on with it.
I just thought, when you watch it on telly, you think, what must they talk about, Tegan and Nyssa?
Exactly.
As they go in and polish the glass
swans. Now you tell me how you act in that vacuum, and what you do, and how you, and
it's very hard to make anything feel real when those.
Because on the page, the characters created, Tegan and Nyssa, look great.
Oh yeah.
And you must have thought, this has got some meat to it. And then you just get...
And then you read the script.
And then you cried.
That's so disappointing, because it could have been... was it disappointing?
Yes.
At the time, did you think we could do stuff with this? We could
absolutely.
really get our teeth into this?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's crazy, isn't it? Sorry, it just occurred to me.
But it was symptomatic. You say the duty of care thing. It was symptomatic of how you were regarded and how you were treated. And for me, I guess my answer was I became involved in establishing the UK chapter of Women in Film and Television, and I ran it for the first 4 years. And I'm happy. Because I was upset and disappointed and angry, I think. Well, I was angry about what happened with the female characters.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were starting Women in Film and Television, what happened in the because it started here in Los Angeles, and it wasn't as nearly as big as it is now. And what happened was that, they didn't want to admit actresses. And I said, you have to admit actresses because we are on the sharp end of sex discrimination. And we still are. I was an agent. Female actresses get paid a lot less than men, and they also, there are far fewer roles for women. Wherever you go in the universe, especially in sci-fi, other aliens, no matter how intelligent they are dumb enough to put men in charge. Like that's likely.
Oh my word. This is the best interview ever. I'll tell you what, I wanted to ask you, Sarah, you did a lot of acting before you joined Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So
didn't do anything afterwards.
I was going to move on to that. But so when you joined Doctor Who, you were saying, Janet, it was kind of indicative of how television was. What has it been like for you you started 9 years old as a child actress?
I was 9 when I first had my first paying job. I was in the West End in a musical. And I did my first telly when I was 11, but a lot of the telly I did when I was younger, there's a lot of classic stuff. I did a version of The Crucible for a director called Don Taylor, which was fantastic. I had an amazing cast. And also Alice from Looking Glass. So we were working from, classic stories. So, and those adaptations were first class. So it was a very different thing going into Doctor Who, where it was a whole new world.
Were you still treated, do you feel like you were sort of the juvenile?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though, you were both over 18 and it's...
Yes, I was the same. Matthew and I were the same age, and I didn't ask him.
I was old.
Not by much.
Not much.
No.
Hardly anything.
Yes, we were treated like the sort of the kids really, and that irritated me particularly because I felt like I had been in the business since I was 9. I've done quite a lot of stuff before I got to Doctor Who.
And a lot of it very prestigious stuff.
Yeah, a lot of, really, really, as I say, Crucible, series called, the first television I did when I was 11 was past the 9 o'clock watershed in those days, and it was a series called Menace, and they had a different story, a different writer each week, and the one that I did was called Boys and Girls Come Out to Play, and I played a 9-year-old girl who was the daughter of a policeman who was taking bribes, and this girl is slightly disturbed, probably be a good way of describing it, but she goes out at night, she climbs out of her bedroom window at night and goes and gets her friends, and she takes them out on Wimbledon Common, and on Wimbledon Common she sees a murder, and she realises the person committing the murder is the father of one of her friends, and she uses this to bribe really nasty piece of it. I was only 9 at the time, and no wonder I've got a funny brain now. And in the end, one of her friends decides that she's going to squeak and it's all going to come out. So my character pushes her in the cement mixer.
It was typecasting.
You see where I get it from?
Everybody thinks that Nissa was the sweet one. That's not true.
I'm a bully.
Isn't that funny that you were doing such complex stuff when you were 9?
Yes,
and you moved to Doctor Who when you were 18 and you're sitting in a room going, hello.
There were letters in the back of the Radio Times about that story. It made a big impact at the time.
I'll tell you what, because you brought it up, neither of you acted for very long after Doctor Who.
No.
Was that because of Doctor Who?
In part, yeah.
Yes, in part. I wouldn't want to say that Doctor Who ruined my career. I'm perfectly capable of ruining it all by myself. So it was an element of it, I'm pretty sure, because of the way we treated. But I wouldn't want to say it was all.
No, I wouldn't wish to put words in your mouth. No. But it's just interesting that neither of you really pursued much after Doctor Who.
No, I didn't. I mean, I have to say, I found the Fame thing uncomfortable.
That's interesting. I was wondering how much recognition you would have got at the time. So I know now it's outrageous.
Oh, but if we'd have been doing it now, it would be a different thing completely.
Different, yeah, completely. But what happened then was we had 11 million viewers, which in Britain, even then, was a lot of viewers.
A lot of viewers, yeah.
And yet, my agent was saying things to me, well, nobody watches Doctor Who anymore. And he'd go, well, what part of 11 million viewers don't you understand?
But it's totally changed now, hasn't it? People if you're in a popular series, people are desperate to use you in something else.
Absolutely.
Then people going, I'm going to be typecast, they don't want me, they can only see me as Nissa or Tegan.
Exactly what happened.
Totally 180 degrees turned.
That changed in the late 80s, really, with the soap stars.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That changed as a result of EastEnders in the late 80s, really. It began to change, and it really took off in the 90s.
Yeah. Did you find people thought you were typecast when you went up for jobs? Were they going, you can only really do Doctor, you can only be an air hostess, you can only be a traveling princess?
I did the classic thing of going, and I did pantomime really badly with chickenpox. So that
was that a requirement?
The first week of rehearsals, I went home to my parents for a couple of nights. I was looking at, what are those spots on my stomach? And I thought, I've got these spots all over the place. And my mum said, you've got chickenpox. So I wasn't popular because, in pantomime, you always have a chorus of lots of little girls, and so I was kept separate. I was like quarantined because I was so terrified that all these little kids were going to go down with chickenpox and the show would have to be cancelled and everything. It was a bit of a disaster, really.
Nissa's given me chickenpox.
Oh my God, it was terrible. And then I did a tour of Policy for Murder for Charles Vance.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh,
Charles Vance.
Charles Vance, oh lordy. 16 weeks or 18 weeks around England, and then that was an episode of Casualty, and that was pretty much it.
But that said, that was the nadir of parts for women as well. I mean, I think
timing was
it was really bad timing, and you look at our generation, and there are very few actresses that come out of that generation. There were very few.
Lost along with it.
And just so many people, you go, what happened to them? Because there were just no parts,
Do you think it is better nowadays?
Not much.
Really?
Not much, no.
Really?
I think it's better in soap.
Yeah.
Because soap is often the women are driving the storylines, so, you know.
That's sad, isn't it? I thought after all this time maybe things might have changed, but...
No.
So you're not watching shows thinking, damn, I wish I could have had that role. I wish there were parts like that for me when I was a young actress.
Oh.
Oh?
Well, I mean, I wish I'd done the Doctor Who that's being done now. You know.
I see no reason why you shouldn't.
Because... What I meant was that it's a fully rounded thing. And I think that the revolution that happened in storytelling in the United States in the 80s, which was largely led by people like Stephen Bochco, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
You know, like Hill Street Blues, I can remember just being this huge revolution in the mid-80s in the way that stories were told and how you saw characters and what you did with the narrative arc of a character. And then, you know, you got an NYPD Blue and all those, and they changed the way that storytelling happened. You know, and yesterday somebody asked me, what was your favourite piece of television? And I said it was Homicide: Life on the Street, Series 5, which was the one where George, you know, it starts with an act of bad faith. And that is a Diamond, the character played by Diamond, kills an unarmed drug dealer. And his sister pursues vengeance, and the story, that vengeance rises and falls throughout the 26 episodes of the story. And it culminates in an episode which was shot by Catherine Bigelow, and which is just mind-blowingly good. And you look at that, and it's a perfect piece of television. And, you know, that kind of revolution in storytelling came from here.
Yeah, which obviously Doctor Who has picked up on. There are series
Absolutely.
arcs, the characters go...
Exactly.
But was it not annoying for you that there were occasionally stories during your time in Doctor Who, say Kindred and Snake Dance for you, possibly Black Orchid for you, where the writers would try, or at least one of the writers would try and give Tegan and Nissa something more meaty, something better. I think you should have been having that every week, surely.
Yeah, but it wasn't followed. Do you know what I mean? Even those stories weren't very complete.
I guess, no, I suppose... That's the thing about old Doctor Who, is that by the next story, everything's kind of been forgotten. There was no real onrush. You weren't
Where's
mourning
the kitchen in the TARDIS? No, where is it?
By the swimming pool.
So, I mean, there's all sorts of lovely things in Doctor Who, don't get me wrong, because to me, it's in that same tradition as Sherlock Holmes. It's that sort of, you know, that kind of, you know, the air of knowledge worn lightly that the Doctor has, you know, there's an authorial...
I'm stealing that, that's lovely.
You know, that sort of authorial voice and is a very British thing, and I think that appeals to people. But I think that what they're doing with it now is so much more sophisticated.
The format is different now.
Yeah.
There was a restriction a bit with the format. I mean, it's not an excuse, but it is a much better format.
Oh, absolutely.
So, which gives it breadth, and it's got room to actually do something weird. It was so restrictive.
23 minutes.
Yeah.
You had 23 minutes.
Three cliffhangers.
3 cliffhangers.
Yeah.
You know, you needed a mid-cliffhanger. How were you going to develop your story arc?
Yeah.
And we used to get scripts, and truly, this would be, 23-minute script would be that thick, and it might be 60 scenes.
Gosh,
that means that every scene was a few seconds long. And you had to think, and that was real, because I was completely inexperienced at television. I was used to the theatre. You know, I came out of political theatre.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the whole sweep of your character and where you'd come from in the previous scene and where you went to in the next scene and how you judged that level was really critical. And the number of times I look now and think, oh, Janet, you got that so wrong.
But also, you were working in a multi-camera BBC studio.
Absolutely.
I mean,
All very static.
yeah. I mean, I suppose soaps are still made that way, but almost nothing
else is made that way. No,
So-
you don't do a narrative.
And I know you guys did, you did exterior filming on film.
Yeah.
So I guess that's more akin to how Doctor Who is made now. You've got some takes and you've got coverage by a single camera.
But if you look at the studio stuff, it's like arranging a Victorian sort of pose.
It's a play.
Standing so you can be seen by the camera. It's just so unnatural.
Yeah. And we'd go, do you want me to do a banana here, don't you? Do you remember that? We'd have to sort of walk in a funny arm and things like that.
It's a very, very weird way of doing drama.
But the other thing is, what used to happen there as well is, here in the United States, certainly in that era, if you were doing multi-camera, so what I mean by that is, if that's us here, you'd have 5 cameras there, right?
I think there are 5 cameras.
So, and they'd all be on long cables. So, especially if you had a new director, they would have these little discs, and they would have pieces of string. And their big fear was that they ended up knitting the cables. Because you can imagine, the cameras would be in a tangle in the middle of the floor. So they used to make sure that they didn't knit their cables.
So they were preoccupied.
Yes.
I was about to say, yes, don't care about the actors, as long as we know
The
the
last thing they were doing was looking at what you were doing. And